God, if you're up there, do you think you could put together an event where Logan Paul would get starched in the most embarrassing way possible? I can do that for you, my son. Here's an ulcer for Mike Tyson, and we're going to have an overconfident Logan Paul step in against Jake, his little brother, because he's completely delusional about his boxing skill and even more delusional about how hard his brother punches when he's going full throttle. And that's going to happen, and he's going to get starched by his little brother now because Mike Tyson out, Logan Paul in. That is what this looks like. It is shaping up to be, as you guys can see on social media. If you think that there's anything that these guys do on social media that is not, well thought out, if Logan says, oh, Mike Tyson's out, I'll step in and settle this once and for all, Jake. And Jake says, hey, mom doesn't want me to KO you, but F it. Loser has to change their name. Without a doubt, these guys have talked about this. That is not the kind of thing that two brothers are going to have, interacting with each other on social media. That's not how that works. So this is a very serious thing. And I will tell you why this is happening, even though, as we've discussed here, I guess we can just scroll down, the Mike Tyson fight from July 20th has been postponed. So that is what we're going to talk about right now. There's a lot more to it too, because Netflix has made a statement about all of it. Very notable, right? Because if you've got Logan stepping in, that's still a big event, right? Does Netflix want a part of that? Huh? Or is Netflix like, you know what? We signed up for Tyson and Jake Paul, not Logan versus Jake Paul. They have made their position on that very clear. So we are going to, we're going to talk about what Netflix said. Also, Tyson put out, obviously here, we're going to go through Tyson's, whoops, that's the wrong one. That's for the next video. Islam wants to street fight Conor. All right, so let's dive into this story. I'll also show you after this why this is this has actually been building for a while. And I know people who have seen me discuss this sequence right here that happened right after the Jake Paul and Nate Diaz fight, where Logan Paul says he's a better boxer than Jake, and the whole thing about Prime, which is the dead giveaway that this was actually a genuine exchange. Logan says, I don't want to fight you in this clip. I realize that, but I found something from much earlier in the podcast that gives it away that they actually were talking about fighting. And so I'll show you guys. We'll go through this whole thing again, because if this sequence does not make you excited to watch those two guys fight, then you're not like me, because there is a lot of underlying angst there. And even if they go in like, let's just give them a good show. Just give them a good show. If you watch this the way that I do, it's like, okay. I have a feeling as soon as they get in there, there's going to be a lot of internal rage coming out, and years of built up animosity that will explode into violence in the ring. So let's rock and roll. Now, I will throw out a quick apology to anybody who had to suffer through the first 5 minutes of that live stream yesterday. That was not my best performance, okay? Like I hit go live 3 to 4 minutes before I should have, where I was still collecting information. And if you have ADD and can relate to what that's like to try to do 3 things at once, it doesn't generally go very well for the, primary function that you're supposed to be doing, which in my case was talking. So I repeated myself 18 times. I watched it back and was like, oh my God. But for future reference, if it's a live stream, okay, like if it's like a repeated live stream, it's not going to be as clean as an edited video like this. That was an especially bad performance. So I apologize. Okay. Now go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and let's jump right into this. I want to start off probably with the Mike Tyson statement now that he has one out. And then we're going to do the Netflix one. So here are the official statements from Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Okay, so Mike Tyson says, and by the way, we're going to have to come back to the reality of what this timeline is going to be, because I think there was some confusion across the board based on my conversations and just kind of what they're initially saying, because they're like, oh yeah, we'll have another date by June 7th. I don't think they will. But anyway, so he says, unfortunately, due to my ulcer flare-up, I have been advised by my doctor to lighten my training for a few weeks and rest and recover. My body is in better overall shape than it has been since the 90s, and I will be back to my full training schedule soon. Jake Paul, this may have bought you some time, but in the end, you will still be knocked out and out of boxing for good. I appreciate everyone's patience and can't wait to deliver an unforgettable performance later this year. Okay, so, and then obviously Jake supports it. I'll summarize. He says, I I support him taking the time because I don't want there to be any excuses when I win. Okay. So here's the thing though. All right. Now I love Mike Tyson. I also commend MVP all the time. I don't know who is responsible for what, but I just am going to point out, okay, when they say like, a few weeks or whatever, like, I'll be right back at it in a few weeks. This is what was said 2 days ago, right? I'm feeling 100%. I am golden. Everything's good. And right when I read this, I was like, does this sound like Mike Tyson, you guys? I'm feeling 100%, even though I don't need to beat Jake Paul. Does that sound like Mike Tyson? Or does that sound like a PR team? You know what I mean? So like, you gotta, go the extra mile. And the extra mile in this case would be to look up how long it takes to recover from an ulcer. 4 to 8 weeks. This one says as long as 12 weeks, right? So the reason I bring that up is because that's a pretty big range. 4 to 8 weeks. You know what I mean? So like when they say, I'm going to be out for a few weeks. Whoops. That's for next time. When he says you're going to be out for a few weeks and you're booking a fight, that makes it very complicated because it says up to 12 weeks, right? Mike Tyson's going to need at least 2 months of training camp. And if there's that big of a discrepancy in terms of how long it'll take to recover from the ulcer, you're not going to book, you're not going to be, okay, give him a month if it actually might be 3 months. You can't do this again. You absolutely cannot reschedule again. And in this case, Logan might step in for the July 20th date, but you can't do it again. You're a young, fledgling, so far very successful promotions company. You can get away with this once because everybody's going to understand. But like if it happens again for any reason, that's going to reflect very poorly on the brand. So you have to err on the side of caution in terms of when you book the follow-up date. And that's for a couple different reasons. Number one, obviously because of the credibility of the brand. It's a big deal to say that event is happening on this date and then push it back for any reason. It's a big deal. But in addition to that, one of the things that I think is playing into why Logan is potentially stepping in is because in order to put on these events, especially if you book AT&T, these huge venues, do you think that does not cost money? They have to pay a lot of money. There are big deposits. There's a lot of complexity in switching all of those venues to later dates, which, when you're moving in real time, you might be finding out things that you didn't really realize when you're first going, okay, yeah, we'll postpone or this. And then they start doing math. They're like, dude, we're going to get cracked for $400,000 to move this just for AT&T, start working and it ends up being a lot of money. And so maybe they're like, okay, maybe we can actually salvage this if we do Logan versus Jake, but bottom line, and they will be able to, I think if that is what they do, I'll talk about that in a second, but they might be able to salvage it. But doing it a second time, you can't do that. So you have to nail the timing. And so you have to give them at least 12 weeks to recover, right? And still cross your fingers that it actually works out. You know what I mean? But you give them 12 weeks plus another 2 months for training camp. And then you want to give them an extra pad month just to be safe so that you don't have to reschedule. So you got to go 6 months, right? You have to. But anyway, yeah, so that is, I would imagine what they're going to do. And that is partially how you end up here, right? Mom doesn't want me to KO you, but fuck it. Loser has to change their name. And this is in response to Logan saying, so Mike Tyson's out. I'll step in and we can settle this once and for all. Jake Paul. So, yeah, I would imagine if I was going to speculate, and I don't have any idea about this, I will say that this is what I was saying from the beginning. As soon as Mike Tyson had the medical emergency, I said the only person that could replace Mike Tyson to salvage an event of this magnitude is if you put Logan in there. Hey man, you promised to subscribe and you didn't even do it. Come on, man. And then like the video, right? Now, I am pretty sure that initially Netflix is like, this fight is postponed. You know what I mean? Kind of like regardless of Logan steps in, whatever, we signed up for Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Now, that said, so it appears they're saying that's the fight that we have a deal for. Cool. Well, you obviously now have an established relationship with whoever does the, is doing the live sports events at Netflix. So if you do insert Logan Paul into this card and you tell them that you're going to do a Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul card 6 months from now, can we do this fight on Netflix? I have a pretty good feeling that Netflix is going to say yes to that. In all honesty, given the pay model, the fact that it's just on Netflix, I think the numbers will be bigger. Paul versus Paul. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I actually think I think I'm right, because the younger crowd fundamentally does not understand who Mike Tyson is. They just don't understand who he is. Like so when I think about my generation, it's like every person on earth is going to watch that. Everyone. But it's the same way as like when older people used to tell you about Muhammad Ali, and and I'd watch him. I'm like, okay, he's the greatest. Like, I mean, I'm watching game tape on him, and I think Tyson starches this guy based on the videos. You know what I mean? But Tyson was different. If you lived through Tyson and you actually understand what this guy was back then, it's like, we're going to watch Tyson. There was no one who was more exciting than him. But the youngins, dude, are going to all tune in for Paul versus Paul. So I'd imagine they'll be able to get this deal done. Now, I want to show you guys some of the responses, because candidly, these were pretty positive, dude, on Twitter in response to these guys saying that they were going to fight. I mean, just in general, the Paul brothers usually get hated on pretty hard, but I found most of these to be pretty positive, dude, like from the public. So I'll just say this as the last part of that story. I think that the likelihood of what happened was when they realized what the switching cost was going to be, and someone floats like, what if we had Logan step in? Jake's like, let me make a phone call. I mean, like, people think that because there's a lot of money involved in these, it's going to be a big event, that there's like a lot of complexity when it comes down to stuff like this, and there's not. For a thing like this, it's his brother. It's literally like, listen, dude, like, this is what's going on. What do you think? I mean, he'll make a bag. Like, you'll make 15 million. It's like, 15 million to beat up my little brother, who I really believe I'm better than. I think that's going to be a rude awakening for Logan. But nonetheless, it probably is done over a phone call. And now we're going to get into where I show you they were already talking about doing this. They pretended like they weren't, but they definitely were. Which I want to say something about this too, because we all know, I don't know if we all know, but I'm going to show you later on in the video that the disagreement about him being able to bring Prime into the Celsius arena when they were doing Diaz versus Jake Paul, I verified that was real. Like, that was not made up. I didn't believe it. I did a video about this when it first happened, and I was like, yeah, right. And the entire reason that I didn't believe that their conflict was real was because Logan's position was so ludicrous that I'm like, there's no person who can build a company as large as Logan has and not understand why he's not allowed to bring Prime into the building. And the only explanation, if he really didn't understand, is because he's so narcissistic and self-centered that he is incapable of considering even the most obvious things if it is contrary to a thing that he wants, which apparently is what was actually going on. But with that said, I will say this, right? So if Celsius is signed up right now, as I believe that they are, to be the main sponsor for the Tyson versus Paul fight, well, guess what, dude? If there is any disagreement about who can bring what into the ring, okay, or into the stadium, Celsius, if you're listening, okay, this is exactly what you do. You tell Logan that he is allowed to bring Prime in, but you give him very specific parameters for how he can, use it, promote it, whatever, and make it to where what you are doing is you are betting on Jake, who is going to be decked to the gills in Celsius stuff. You have him so Celsiused out that it's mind-numbing, okay? So by doing that, you are betting on Jake, Mr. Celsius, starching Logan, Mr. Prime, okay? There is nothing more moving to the public than seeing a man beat up another man, okay? And what you would essentially be doing is you're taking by far the huge favorite in this fight, wearing all your stuff, and actually gets to pulverize your biggest competitor in front of the whole world. I'm here all day, guys. I'm here all day. Anybody want any other incredible ideas? Okay. That's what you do, Celsius, because Logan's going to be like, no, I want to bring in Prime. And then, Jake's going to be like, all right, well, we already have a contract with Celsius. Like, come on, let him limit it to him. And then make sure that Jake is Celsiused out and starches your enemy. All right, so this I wanted to show you guys really quick because this is showing that they were talking about fighting before this. So watch this right here. This dude right here gives it away.
back in
Are
the
you going to do a
situation.
brotherly fight now? You got the older brother, you got Nick Diaz, you got the younger brother, and you're going to go now do MMA rematch. That's perfect. It's way better than you two fighting each other that you were talking about doing.
Whoa.
Boom. Way better than you two fighting each other like you guys were talking about. Okay. So I had heard they didn't want to fight each other. You know, I thought you guys didn't want to fight. So now maybe they do want to fight. And that, further promotes the idea that this might actually I mean, if I had to bet, I would say that they are going to fight. If I was going to bet right now. Okay. But let's move forward to the, to this section right here, which is the why should we be rooting so passionately for Jake in this fight? Okay, so this happened right after Jake just had the biggest win of his life. The Nate Diaz event went off flawlessly. They put on such an incredible show. One of the reasons I speak so positively about MVP is because I went to Nate versus Jake, and it was literally one of the most fun times I've ever had going to an event. Obviously, UFC 300 is in a completely different category. I am definitely not comparing it to UFC 300. However, I've gone to a lot of UFC shows, and the environment that MVP, it was a sold-out crowd. The place went absolutely bananas. I heard people say it wasn't a sellout. That's not true. It 100% was sold out. That place was absolutely jam-packed, the entire stadium, and it was so fun. Okay? So they put on a great show, and Jake had a huge victory, and then this is the conversation between Logan and Jake afterwards. And like I said, I verified enough that was real to say, okay, well, all of this is legit. So let's watch this again and watch how delusional Logan is about how much better he is than Jake. He's going to get starched.
Tommy Fury's on my fucking radar. I have him in my scopes. I wanted it when Jake was fighting him. And I'm going to be back in the conversation.
Sorry. The part that we missed right before that was Jake said he wants to go fight Tommy because he wants to get that win back. Like, it's his only loss. He wants to fight Tommy again. And then Logan 2 seconds later says, nah, he wants Tommy because he loves the vengeance story. If Tommy beats KSI, his business partner, you're all, what about your brother, dude?
Which I'm fucking stoked about. Yeah, dude. October 14th, I'm fighting Dylan Dennis.
You just jump them too at that point. The both of you just.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do something.
No, I'm gonna finish him off first. I gotta handle that business first.
We'll see, bro, because you definitely sniped the Nate Diaz fight from me, and I've been so lenient in giving you your opponents, and I think it's.
But it's not your option to give me my opponents. You haven't fought anyone. You don't fight. You don't fight real fights. It's just not your option to give me my opponents.
Okay, so right out of the again, I can't, man. Every time I talk about this exchange, I convince myself that there's a chance they're just marketing, and then as soon as I actually watch it, I'm like, nope, this is real, dude. This is real. This is real, and there's a lot of underlying shit underneath this, and there's another way to verify that later that we'll talk about. Hang on.
You're not even a fighter. Like, you do exhibitions and lost like 4 years ago.
That answer is a lot of animosity right there. That's like Logan been stepping on my head, minimizing things that I do, undermining me all the time. There you go. Look at Mike's face. Okay. This was not planned. This is not planned. This is real because Mike is a peacemaker and he is uncomfortable, right? Logan is like, oh, I'm getting sunned by my little brother. Well, guess what? I'm going to show you how delusional I can be.
So it's not your option to like give me my fights. That me and Nate Diaz have been talking about that for years, and then you popped up and were like, no, now it's my turn. I want that fight, and then start talking shit and then try to like get the fight in Saudi Arabia, like on the microphone and like trying to like jump in on all of these things.
I think I'm better than you, and I think Nate chose you for a reason, and I think everyone knows that.
What do you mean?
Even in
But what have you done to prove that you're better than me?
I don't know. Went toe-to-toe 8 rounds with the greatest boxer of all time. What do you think happens if you fight Floyd Mayweather?
I would knock him out.
Bro.
100%.
I mean, listen, you want to know what would probably happen? Is probably it would go the distance, because if the flex is you went toe-to-toe with the greatest boxer of all time and like survived, it's like, okay, but Floyd Mayweather is not a knockout puncher, even at his own weight class anymore. He has brittle hands, right? He is a defensive, masterful, incredible boxer who is almost impossible to hit hard, but he wasn't going to knock you out. So going toe-to-toe with him for however many rounds, if you went 60 rounds, right? That's not, how is that a flex, dude? You had 60, 70 pounds on him and you hugged him the whole time. Like, I don't even...
Percent.
Don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous.
You think because you lost a fight to Floyd Mayweather that you're better than me at boxing?
You said I won the fight.
In person, when I was watching it, I thought so. But then, yeah, watching it back, it's like, okay, I've had like a biased point of view, like sitting there in person.
This is the first time I've heard you say that. You just
Yeah, but because we never talked about
you're
it.
just switching up like that? The whole internet saw you repeatedly throughout the past 2 years say that I won that fight. And now you're saying the opposite?
Because I'm rooting for you. But like, if you want to know the truth, yeah, like I'm going to ride or die for you on my shield. Yeah, 100%. And afterwards, when I saw that you lost it on TV, people in interviews would still be like, what do you think? I'm not going to be like, no, I watched it back and I thought he lost. No, he fucking won because you're my brother.
I don't disagree. But the fact is, I went toe-to-toe for 8 rounds with the greatest boxer of all time. And you're not able to...
It's just such a ridiculous flex, man. It's a ridiculous flex. Listen, I think that people watch my channel because I give you my 100% honest reactions to things. And as much as I think Logan is a delusional, narcissistic, whatever, they are brothers, you know? Like, that's one of the reasons, right? Like, if you don't know my history with Logan, he has me blocked, by the way, which is hilarious. My history with Logan essentially comes down to 2 things that I have, enough animosity towards things that he's done that I've made a point to kind of light him up on the channel. One is suing Dylan Dennis and trying to bankrupt him. I just can't. And I found out from Mix Molly Whoppery's documentary about this that he did deep research. The content that Dylan is getting sued over is the I need penis inside of me. That's what they're saying was like hacked material or whatever. Where do you think Dylan got it? You think Dylan has the ability to hack into stuff? Like, if he got it, it was obviously public. You think he hacked into something? It was on her Snapchat, right? But nonetheless, that and then this kind of thing. Like, this is sacrilege to me. My little brother and me, we don't get along on tons of topics. But when it comes to things like this, like, my brother was a professional athlete in a sport that I played. Okay. And he was a phenom. He's a kid that went pro. He's always been ridiculously good. I never once felt an ounce of envy or animosity, whatever. I was so fucking proud of him. I loved watching him work people. I loved when he would come up. I'm 3.5 years older than him. And he would come up and play against us when he's 12 and I'm like 15 and a half, 16, like 15 and a half, 16. You have any idea what the gap in like normal skill is between the average 12-year-old and the average 15, 16-year-old? Like, I was good. I was on a traveling team, Olympic development team, varsity, all that shit. And he ran circles around the guys on my team when he's 12. He was incredible. And I loved it. And when he was pro, I would watch his games. I was crazy supportive because he's my fucking brother, man. So a person undermining their brother is just like, it's like acid in my veins, dude, But again, as much as I would like to see Jake starch Logan for that reason, at the same time, I can put myself in that ring afterwards and it like kind of hurts my stomach thinking about it, dude. After Jake, because Jake will win. Like, if they really fight and they go full out, like, Jake's going to win and he'll probably starch Logan. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, like for me, yes. But the same reason that I have the animosity towards Logan in relation to this is the same reason why I'd be like, oh my God. Like, it honestly, it would make me sick to my stomach thinking about someone just laying out their brother in front of the entire world. Fuck, dude. That, like, even saying that out loud, like, is, that's fucking crazy. Anyway.
To see how good I was in that fight. And yes, I'm in the WWE currently, but I like boxing a lot. And I think I'm really good. And I'm excited I get to show it again on October 14th on the Prime Park in Manchester. With the co-main event, KSI versus Tommy Fury, Logan Paul versus Dylan Dennis. But
for you
I yielded, bro. And I'm tired of not being picked because you're an easier fight.
Is that what you really think in your head?
I'm Jake.
I think I'll say this. I think you have more to. I think Logan. I think you have more to prove. I think you have more to prove. I think you did go to toe-to-toe with Floyd Mayweather.
Mike is like, Logan, I know you're my paycheck. I'm not going to just completely light you up here because that's not what I do. Not my style. I'm more of a peacemaker. But are you smoking fucking crystal meth? What on earth are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Jake has starched all of his opponents, okay? He lost to Tommy Fury, a prime physically, undefeated professional boxer. You know, and he lost by a razor-thin decision. You didn't get knocked out by a 50-year-old who doesn't try to knock people out. What?
Mayweather,
I don't disagree.
I think you need to still prove to the people, to the community, to the world that you have the ferociousness to put a man down.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not
disagree.
saying you're biased, unbiased, whatever. But once you sink your teeth and draw blood, put a man down, this conversation changes dramatically. It gives you.
Wow. I must have seen an edit of this because I had never seen that before, which again validates I like that guy, dude. I like that. I hadn't even thought about that. It's not even necessarily about your opponents. It's just like no one's ever seen you starch a guy. Like you've fought a lot of rounds. You have never knocked a person down and hurt them. You're a big dude. Paulo Costa's coach said that you'd be great in MMA. That's wrestling. We're talking about boxing. Your brother has titanic power. Titanic. And he's a good boxer. This is a ridiculous conversation. He'll beat the fucking shit out of you.
I don't disagree with you, and that's what I fully intend to do on October 14th.
I think you just want to beat Tommy to be able to say that you're better than me at boxing.
Well, I'll never fight you, and I don't want to fight JJ again.
Well, he certainly didn't deny it. You know, he definitely didn't deny that accusation, and I definitely agree. And here's the whole thing, all right? If you really look at this objectively, why is Logan undermining Jake and trying to take the fights? And then after, you know, when he booked the Tyson fight, why is Logan putting KSI on his show and being like, what do you think, KSI? His nemesis, like Jake's nemesis because Jake had your back when you were fighting KSI. You still haven't put that relationship together. But like you put him on your show and you're all, what do you think? And KSI's all, Mike Tyson's 100 years old. Logan's all, yeah, he's too old, man. He's too old. It's like, are you fucking serious, dude? Are you serious? There was a clip floating around of me talking about MVP Promotions that they actually they tweeted it and they put it on Instagram, and it was where I was saying, I was like, MVP Promotions does an exceptional job. And the point that I was making was that Jake is coming off this incredible victory over Nate Diaz, and not just an incredible victory because he's not just a fighter, he's also the promoter. And they made this incredible event. They did an exceptional job. They just did this huge historic Netflix deal. And when Jake announces that, and you know, some people in the public are, oh my God, their haterade is that Mike Tyson's too old. Logan is a lot of things, you know, out of touch from social media is probably the last thing, you know, like he's definitely not that, right? So he knows exactly what people are saying. And then he went on his show and he piled on. You know, he piled on. Now Mike steps in and makes some good points, and then this is about the last we'll look at this, and then we're just going to show the Prime thing, and then we'll wrap this up.
I think,
but it's free. Like it's a free event.
For a fight.
No, WWE's people.
It's $9 on Peacock.
No, that's not free, brother.
For a fight right now, for somebody to break over, to cross over into the boxing space, Jake Paul to seasoned veterans of combat sports makes more sense as a fight. It just does. They may have questions about draw potentially because they don't have a record to call upon besides Floyd, which some of the points he's bringing up matter. What I'm gonna say is once you do this next fight, you have a lot more leg to stand on. You have to go in there. You need to. I don't even need to say this. You need to do what is obviously going to happen to fucking Dylan Dennis, and then you can go and build that proof of concept again and draw, right? It's like, dude, this kid's been on every fucking Sports Illustrated, every ESPN magazine. He is the face of boxing right now.
Why do you think Logan is so aggro about this? That's exactly why. That is exactly why. Now listen to this part though, because this is insane. Like there's no ambiguity about what's going on here, and this is how Logan responds.
You are the face. You are the face of W.
So that's why I'm curious, because you are the face of at least this weird like influencer crossover.
It's
boxing
deeper
arm,
than that. It's
whatever you want to call it, because
Undermined.
you are the face of it, and I can also sell an insane fucking number of pay-per-views, and I'm not in my potential opponent's head. Wouldn't it be an easier fight to fight me, and yet they're still choosing you?
What do you mean?
Wouldn't you think, oh, one of them has a losing record and he can sell the same, if not more, pay-per-views. One of them has a winning record and can sell a good amount of pay-per-views as well.
No, but I've proven to sell more pay-per-views consistently.
It's because they look at Jake as a real fighter. You know, people don't want to say that. Maybe they don't want to say that, but that is a fact. They see Jake as a real fighter. You know, people want to throw rocks at Jake in the last couple wins of his. Yeah, those guys were tomato cans, 100%, that he brought out to get starched in the first round, which is exactly what he did. It was very easy for him, not challenging at all. But that's what up-and-coming boxers do. If you go look at Mike Tyson's record on the come-up, he was literally fighting once every 3 weeks. It's insane. And then you go look at the records of some of those guys, and they were like, you know, here you go, Mike, just knock his head off. But, yeah, I mean, Logan's logic is just non-existent here. It's like a complete and total inability to go, dude, you're not the main character of this movie right here.
Time and time again, I'm active. I have a promotional company. We do, bigger deals, huge guarantees, like a lot of revenue.
I don't buy it.
What do you mean you don't buy?
I just don't think that
it's more legitimate. We have a better production. We are doing it on a consistent basis. I'm active. You're inactive. You don't have the momentum in the fight world. You're not as respected as a fighter.
It's insane that he even has to explain this. Okay, so the thing about the Prime, this was so crazy. I'm just we're running out of time here.
What's
the other side?
Play
am I playing?
both sides.
What side am I playing?
You play both sides.
What's the other side that I'm playing?
I'll partner with all of your enemies. I have,
bro. My life is my life. Your life is your life. If you want to create,
you love to play both. You love to play both sides.
I'm explaining my rationality for one,
and it
the other.
caused issues in our last event when we had other betting partners and drink partners, and you walked out with it with the betting and the drinks.
Is it?
So
it
caused
to
issues.
Wear what I'm wearing?
It caused issues.
Come on, it's not you can't tell me what to wear.
Oh my God. They can tell you what to wear, and they did. Because you knew you were going to be on camera. They have competitive, paying partners who are like, oh, okay, cool. So you're using the event that we are paying for, and he's promoting competitive products. Not cool. Obviously, Logan understands this completely because he got rid of George Janko for the exact same reason. We talked about this in the live stream, but if you haven't seen it, we're doing it again. And Logan seems to not understand this. This entire talk track right here is that Logan is furious that he was not allowed to bring Prime into the building for the Nate Diaz fight because Celsius was the main sponsor. It's so crazy and delusional. It's hard to even put into words because he understands this concept when it's Prime and somehow doesn't understand when it's on the other foot. Very bizarre. I can only explain it as if it's not good for him, then his logic brain, the part of his brain that's responsible for logic just implodes. But anyway, that's enough for now. We'll see how this goes. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Bye.